This is Ranking of Cage Part 6. I'm Colton, joined by Quinn,
Hey
Kudrow,
guys.
and Josh.
Hello.
The movie today for Ranking of Cage Part 6 is Birdy. Birdie's from 1984, and we'll start with the synopsis from Just Watch. So, two young men are seriously affected by the Vietnam War. One of them has always been obsessed with birds, but now believes he really is a bird and has been sent to a mental hospital. Can his friend pull him through? All right, so we start this out. Our main characters are Al Columbato, played by Nicolas Cage, and Birdie, played by Matthew Modine. Modine. Um, and Matthew Modine, you may know more recently as Papa in Stranger Things. Um, so we open with Al being in a hospital recovering from being injured in Vietnam. He then goes and gets on a train and has a flashback to being younger. And you have him hitting a baseball into the yard of Birdie's family's house. And Birdie's mom is not happy about it, and she does not give the baseballs back. And then we see Birdie sitting up in a tree while they're playing baseball. Um, Al then finds Birdie and has a little scuffle with him, thinking he stole a pocket knife. And then we find out he didn't actually steal this pocket knife. Then Al and Birdie become friends, and Al offers to help Birdie catch birds. So then it's like a pigeon catching montage, and they're catching birds like under an elevated railway in the city. Following this, Birdie makes pigeon suits out of actual bird feathers for the two of them, and then they trespass into a refinery. They climb up to the top. Birdie falls and is hanging off the roof. And then when Al's like freaking out, Birdie says, "No, Al, I'm gonna fly." And then he proceeds to let go and fall off and fall to the ground. He doesn't fly. Um, so then we come back to the current time, and we see Nicolas Cage standing outside of Birdie's room in an asylum where Birdie is being where Birdie is speaking and is mimicking bird-like things. Josh, what are you doing? Can you not do that? What is that sound? It's loud as fuck.
I can't hear anything.
I'm muted. Is that okay? Good.
What was that? I don't know. There's some kind of like weird Pez dispenser sound.
Eating M&Ms.
Okay, so after falling off, we go back to the current time, and we see Nicolas Cage standing outside the cell. And we see this through the rest of the movie, like in between the flashbacks to when they're younger. You see Nicolas Cage outside of the cell, like and inside trying to talk to Birdie and kind of bring him back from his. But he doesn't speak at all. He just kind of sits there in like bird positions. So it cuts back to when they're teenagers, and Birdie's mother is destroying all the pigeon apparatus after he had kind of made the bird suit and jumped off the top of the roof and hurt himself. Then you kind of go forward. Birdie and Al are out on the boardwalk, and it's very obvious that Birdie's uninterested in girls and doesn't want to be part of this, and he only really is interested in birds. Following this kind of an unrelated thing, Birdie and Al are fixing a car up, but he doesn't have it registered, and his dad says, "Hey, you need to get that registered," but he doesn't. So then when they're out at the boardwalk, the cops come and arrest them for having this unregistered car. And then they get put in jail. Al's dad comes and gets them out, but you find out Al's dad sold the car. And that kind of sets up this rift between the two kids, Al and Al's father. Following this, we have a scene where Birdie goes and gets a canary, and he seems to be super obsessed with birds and figuring out how to fly. You see him building a set of wings, like wings he can use. And when they're outside working out, you have Nicolas Cage doing like lifting dumbbells, and then you have Birdie like flapping his arms with dumbbells. So his workout was flapping like a bird. Then they go to a garbage dump to test out the wings, where they fail spectacularly and fall into a pit of garbage water.
Well, he kind of did float for a little bit.
Like breathing.
That was terrible.
The more I thought about that, the more it felt like something in Zelda where like it was intentional that there was water at the bottom. So you wouldn't just get wrecked in the garbage. Because if you landed in that garbage, you'd be done.
Right.
Like going at fast. So it's like, oh, it's like they found where the water was and then went off the hill.
I mean, it seemed pretty disgusting.
It seemed totally weird, not a place. Just like a random pile of water.
Yeah.
Yes. But like disgusting. Had to be like the shittiest water of all time.
To me, though, it almost felt like they were trying to make it look like he was kind of flying. Like, it would give him hope.
Okay.
Like,
maybe
it was like really unrealistic. Like I think because he was obviously on like some sort of
he like
harness or something like that.
Glided for a second and then just
He like I don't know. It was like he was like kind of floating, not flying. So I don't know. I think maybe that was intentional. I don't know.
I felt they even did the same kind of thing with the earlier one where he fell, which was clearly like a very, just like fall. He just like free fall over, and but they slowed it down and made it look like he almost was flying for a minute, but he's like upside down, and it's like. It's the same thing, right? Where they were trying to be like, he's trying to be a bird, but he can never be a bird because he's a man. How sad.
The funny thing is, like, Red Bull literally has that. They do that thing. What is Flutog? Where people try and fly?
They like build stuff? Yeah.
It's
always fun to watch.
So after this, it shows them out like going dog catching. And I don't think it's ever explained. I assume it's like a job. They're trying to make money. But they go out dog catching, and then they find out after they catch the dogs, they come to a place where they're using dogs and horses to make some kind of meat, I'm assuming. They don't like this, so they let all the dogs out. The dogs run and escape. Then back at home, a cat gets to Birdie's bird, his canary, and then he like does CPR to save the bird. And then after that, he has a dream where he like becomes one with the bird, and then he becomes even more obsessed with birds. He goes to prom with the girl, and he's completely uninterested in her and just seems really uninterested in being there. After prom, he goes home, gets naked, climbs in the bird cage, sleeps in the bird cage, has a dream where he is like from the point of view of a flying bird, I believe is what they're trying to show you. And then following this, you get a Vietnam scene with Al where he sees a bunch of horrific things right in front of his face. And I think it's just trying to show you the trauma he experienced. And then, so we're going back to the present time. It's been going back constantly, showing Al trying to kind of pull Birdie out of this. And for his final thing, he brings all the baseballs that the mother had confiscated from a long time ago. He shows him the baseballs, and that seems to start to break Birdie out of this. And then it cuts to a scene with Birdie in Vietnam where he sees horrific things right in front of him, kind of highlighting his trauma. And then with the baseballs, it finally seems like Birdie starts speaking with Al. And this was like the last chance. So they come in and they're going to take Birdie away. Al tries to fight them. And then basically Birdie's kind of broken out of it now. So they fight off the two guys trying to take them into custody. They run and escape the building. And then there's a scene where Birdie's going to looks like jump off the building. And then he jumps. And then Al walks up and then you see he jumped like 10 feet and he turns around. He's like, what? And that's the end of the movie. Birdie.
And there's like some song from like The Police or something plays. It's like some cheesy 80s like pop rock song.
I don't remember what the ending song was.
And it's just like, no. It felt so out of pace with the rest of the whole movie.
Yeah.
It was just like some cheesy song at the end after like all these very intense, slow plotting movie that they, in my opinion, could have done in a much shorter time.
Right.
Yeah.
What did you guys think?
Birdie is obviously delusional.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why they didn't do something sooner, at least in his younger life. Like, this man built a bird cage underneath his bunk bed and slept naked in there. Like,
Right.
come on. Even in what year was it?
After Vietnam, so
50s. Well, when he was before he went to Vietnam, would have been like the early 60s, like late 50s.
Right. There. I mean, they gotta know that's not. I mean, obviously it's not normal,
Yeah.
but that's something that you
Right.
need to go see a doctor about.
They really go hard on the bird obsession. Like
Mhm.
they really hammer that one in every chance they get.
I mean, they kind of highlight that like they're from they're from an impoverished area where they don't like, you're either out like on the streets or, like what other outlets does this kid have,
right.
And
That's
he's
true.
just like, birds are cool, so whatever. But this is like the place they live it's a rough city. And it
Right.
turns out that we thought it was, and I think it's Philadelphia actually
Yep,
that they're
Philly.
representing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if like they're trying to convince the audience that he's actually a bird too. Like I don't know, maybe that's what they're going for. Cuz like you said, we initially meet him, he's perched in the tree. He has pigeons all the
Was,
time.
Right.
like, was I supposed to laugh or not? Were they going for serious? Because I kind of laughed at some of the scenes, like him sitting in the tree as a bird, and just like some of the extreme bird where he's naked, like crouched on the edge of the bed later in the movie. And it's like I can understand what they're trying to show with his mental state, but also like the way it's portrayed can be very comical. Just with like him being a bird in the tree, the scene where um
I mean, he's basically played as weird the whole way through the movie, for lack of a better word. He's like, from the moment he's introduced all the way through the movie, he is a character where like we don't know. I mean, I can only speak for myself. Where I felt like I wasn't really, able to predict like what's going to happen next. But
Mhm.
I don't know when they put the pigeon suits on was a big moment for me because we disagreed as to I was like, what were we saying? I was like, this is a joke. Like this is
Yeah, right.
they just like this is
Mhm.
and you guys are like, no, we're supposed to like take it seriously, and I'm like, no, this is like can only end in hilarity. This is like the stupidest thing I've ever seen. They
Yeah.
played it with like it was a really grave moment that happened, of course, but I don't know, man. Those pigeon suits were over the edge for me.
Yeah.
It's pretty
To me
bizarre.
it was kind of unrealistic. Cuz to me like somebody that's this delusional would have like severe social like issues. I
But
would think.
he did have a lot of social issues, right? Like he
Yeah, I
could
mean,
Yeah.
barely talk to anyone.
yeah, I feel
And he
like
was
this.
going to places where other people wouldn't be, right? Like like a transformer station. Like where were they?
That's true. I guess
Yeah.
I was more thinking of like when he would communicate with people. Like
Right.
obviously he was uninterested in girls, but like he could communicate very well with Al, like his dad. Like even giving his like presentation in class, like he was obviously it was about birds, so like he's very passionate about it. But like it just seemed like he didn't have any like anxiety, like social anxiety. It didn't seem like he didn't seem like if he really wanted to, like he could have been a normal kid. It didn't seem like the bird stuff was really like weighing him down from like socially excelling, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I agree. It seemed like he just didn't care.
Right.
He just didn't even care to be part of it at all.
Exactly.
Like unaffected by it.
Yeah. So that was kind of weird to me, but I'm not a psychologist, so I don't know.
But
If
I
that's
think that
realistic
is
or not.
probably something the filmmakers are trying to make. I think that's like probably like a good thing you picked up on there.
Mhm.
Any thoughts, Kudrow, on that?
I don't know. Like you said, I'm not a psychologist, and I'm like, I kind of am, and I
Yeah.
spent half of the movie trying to. I spent
Yeah,
most
well,
of the movie
we're
trying to
waiting for you to.
diagnose them. Okay. I'm going to be clear here. I'm not going to diagnose them. I'm not. We're not playing that.
Not
one.
it's not
He's got a
psychology.
bird brain.
No. I mean, like,
Disclaimer.
the one thing I'll say is like, if I see, obviously like the with him, the social skills were definitely a concern. Just as what he definitely had like single-minded, fixed interest on birds. Like, he was only really comfortable around certain people. It seems to me like he definitely has some form of social, like some form of communication disorder. I feel like that nowadays, like if he probably would have been picked up on and like maybe would have gotten like some assistance, whether that be with like working on his social skills, his social interactions. But back in the 1980s, I really don't know if psychology had come far enough yet. Well, no, this was back in Vietnam, so this would have been like the 60s. But definitely back then, like the field of psychology had not gotten to the point where people were really gonna pick up on that and do like early interventions for a kid like that.
You're right, but also the doctors just seemed overworked and totally incompetent as well, right? Wasn't one guy enlisting the help of Nicolas Cage in order the head doctor? Wasn't he? That was this movie, right? This isn't another Nicolas Cage movie. I'm getting mixed up.
That was this one.
No, like yeah, because I mean, like it seemed like they were in like a military, like because the doctor seemed to be a military doctor. They were like they were in an institution.
Yeah.
He was, Birdy, he was locked up, and which I mean that's what they did back then.
And the guy just wanted him, but the guy just wanted him out of the institution. It was just get out of my institution. Like this guy's gonna cost me so much money. Be here for 9 years. Nicolas Cage, come in here and bring all these baseballs in here. That's all they had to do. Bring a bunch of baseballs. Could have gotten any baseballs.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I don't know. He's not responsive. I guess just lock him in a cell by himself with no stimuli. Just hang out in there by himself.
I mean, you kind of laugh, but that's kind of what they did for a long time with people who are suffering from mental illness. It was like the institution method, and as sad as it is, like that's probably one of the more humane examples that could be shown. Like if you go back further in history, like in the 1800s, oh boy,
oh my god,
it was not good.
Right.
Yeah,
because there's those two parts, right? There's diagnosing and then treatment, and obviously they had neither of those down during this movie. So
yeah.
So I thought maybe some scenes in this movie were out of place. I like the Vietnam scenes of both of them were at the end of the movie. I feel like maybe it would have helped set up the movie if that was more towards the beginning. By the time they play the Vietnam scenes at the end, it's almost like you already understand the whole thing that's going on. But
it felt belabored to me too. It just felt like it was like, okay, we knew we got that the whole time from the first setup, from the introduction of that character. We're like, he's a bird. I guess he's like a bird. He's not a human. Like he's got his pigeons. He'll hang out with his pigeons and jump over fences and sit in trees, but he won't play baseball with Nicolas Cage. But anyways, yeah. And then by the end, it's like, what's the conclusion? Oh, he thought he was a bird. Oh, wow.
Yeah, also there is like they escape from the place and he jumps off the 10-foot drop, but that's it. Like there's no like, okay, so
they solved it. What are you talking about?
We're good now?
yeah, that's it. And then he ran and jumped off the rest of the building because they were still on like the top.
Right. He had to bring him up to the tallest building and see what he did.
Oh my god!
To me, that was like one of the weirdest things about the entire film. It's just like, we spent half this movie, the entirety of the movie, being like, how can we help Birdy? And now it's just like, oh, he's fine.
Right.
I guess he learned that he can't fly, but he can like jump. That was his lesson. He can like glide, but he can't fly. Right. He learned that. That's what he learned in Vietnam. He's like, well, I can't fly. Vietnam taught me that I can't fly. No man can fly. That's what Vietnam taught me.
And like more towards the end, it's like they bring the Vietnam stuff into it, and then specifically don't resolve any of that. I just like
The Vietnam stuff was, I mean, so thin too. It was
yeah,
just like in a studio, like fake plants, like bunch of fake blood
mhm,
for 5 seconds.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Which
yeah,
it's what we already thought happened to him, but we just
right,
without any other detail. Like, yeah, he
right.
saw crazy shit in Vietnam.
Yeah, they didn't need to show that,
Right.
but
I
They
mean,
could have just like shown the lightning in the sky, and then like that would have been a symbol enough. Like, yeah, that was his memory of Vietnam.
just to be fair, I think you have to take the time into context too. Like now, obviously now, like we have much heavier context of the Vietnam War than whenever this movie was made. Like we know a lot more, and like post traumatic stress and all that as well.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and yeah, I guess it's like the resolution at the end isn't like satisfying. I don't like it's like okay, funny joke. He was just jumping this 10 feet. He wasn't trying to fly or jump off the
Right.
building. But
There was no payoff at all, in my
Mhm.
opinion.
yeah. Um yeah,
I mean, the payoff might have been because, like, he just takes it as like such a nonchalant what, and he jumps like only the manageable distance. Maybe maybe he's
That's true.
not thinking maybe he's just not thinking he's a bird anymore. Maybe that part,
and
maybe he's gotten past that.
maybe that's true, but the way it's played out is a mega boring conclusion. It's like they did like they're like, all right, we're here. How do we end this thing? You know, like if really what they should have done is had him actually just jump off a building at the end. Like then like well, turns out he had some mental issues and he was actually thought he was a bird still. Maybe you shouldn't have tried to do that, Al.
Or maybe he could like get like a glider or something. Like learn how to ride what do they call those? The updrafts? Like
better
Like a
ending. He
paraglider.
flies. He goes, he jumps,
the
and he flies.
thermals. Just follow the thermals, bro.
Mhm.
But what if
Hang glider.
what if he straight up flew at the end though? Would that have made it a better movie?
And then we can't tell whether it's reality or a dream.
Right. And it cuts to a
Yeah.
spinning top.
I don't know. I can just
Um,
imagine like they're pitching the movie and then they're like working their way up to the final scene and they're like drum roll and then they're like yeah and then he jumps off the building, but it's only a 10-foot drop and everybody's like no way.
Right. Yeah. Are you ready to rank this one?
That was such a gotcha moment at the
Yeah.
end. Such
Right.
bullshit.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
complete bait and switch.
Yeah. It just felt like it needed to be followed by like a little tuba, like the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme song, just like boom, boom, boom. It just was like a little, and then the fucking Sting or the Police or whatever start playing. What do we got? Can we bring? Or do we need to
Well,
bring?
I was just gonna say, do we want to talk about Nicolas Cage's performance before we rank it?
Sure.
I know we've kind of done it for the other movies, so
I think his performance was good in this. I think Matthew Modine's performance was good too, as a weird bird loving character.
Yeah,
but-
he inhabited the character.
Yeah.
He definitely was believable. But Nicolas Cage, I felt it was average Cage, honestly. Like I'm trying to like what are the craziest Cage moments in this movie?
When he
He
freaked out
threw him against the wall.
Yeah.
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 There's no Nicolas Cage roller skating into a pond in this one.
Well, he does. Well, after he flies into the pond, he's in the garbage.
Oh,
Right. Every time he thinks Birdie died, he's like freaking out.
Yeah.
oh, that was so. Oh, they just cut to the garbage scene.
A very similar Nicolas Cage to the other '80s movies we've watched so far with him. I feel like a lot of these '80s ones, he's kind of inhibited a similar character
Like rebellious.
rebellious, doesn't have a care kind of character.
Sure.
But yeah.
He's a rebel
Pretty
with
simple.
a cause.
Yeah.
Yep.
His cause is to help his friend who thinks he's a bird. That's his only care in life.
All right. Who volunteers to go first for ranking?
I need to be reminded of the rankings every week.
I don't want to say the wrong ranking.
I will
I
go.
know.
And I
There
think
is no
I
there is
didn't
no wrong ranking, Quinn.
I didn't it's not a good movie. It's not terrible to watch. It gets a little lengthy, and like we said, it kind of really hits hard on the same points over and over again. Spends a lot of time in the cell with Birdie just doing the same shit. So I gotta go D plus. Bordering on C, but I think I gotta go D plus.
I need to look at my other rankings before I rank this one.
Oh my gosh.
My gut feeling is a D, based on comparative lack of good, like, I mean, Nicolas Cage played a competent. He played the character very well, but it was kind of a boring character.
Yeah. Kind of a
He
boring.
just- yeah, and so I feel like it's a solid D because of that, plus also because I felt like it just kind of it was just kind of one note.
Yeah, you're right. It was.
It
Peer
was
pressure.
one note. Well,
Peer pressure. I'm changing to a D as well.
ah, shit. Sorry, making a bunch of noise over here.
I gotta go E.
Okay. That's a fair
Yeah,
score.
I liked Valley Girl more than this one, and I ranked Valley Girl a D. So
I also liked Valley Girl more than this one. I think I ranked it higher.
for me, it was just too lengthy and too slow.
Sure.
Like
Fair
I think
critic.
some of the scenes were decent.
Yeah.
Like, and like you said, I don't know if I was supposed to be laughing, but I was laughing. Especially the first one where they're in the pigeon suits and he's like, "I'm gonna fly."
I think that's
And
the
you're like,
best.
oh
scene in the
yeah,
movie.
buddy.
Yeah, I think the pigeon suit scene is probably the best in the movie.
When they're in the emergency room and he's sitting next to that lady in the pigeon suit. He's like, yeah, my buddy there, he could have broken his back. She's like, I don't give a shit. But yeah, definitely an E, I think.
All right, Kuja, what do those weird faces over there mean?
I don't know. I'm very torn on rankings for this one. I think you're all I honestly think you're all underrating it personally.
Okay.
Cause I mean, like, I feel like there's a lot of. I mean, I can appreciate the character drama that existed between Birdie and Nicolas Cage's character. I can never remember character names.
Al.
Al, the bane of my existence.
Al Colombato.
I mean, I really thought Birdie was interesting to, like, the character was very interesting to watch. And I mean, maybe that's just my psychology background talking, but like, I mean, like, I spent the entirety of this movie just trying to figure him out, and I can actually say I had a lot of fun with. I had a lot of fun with that. I mean, when you're looking at, I don't think it's a bad drama film at all.
I mean, it's okay if you like the movie.
I'm really just kind of torn on the rankings. I'm kind of sitting somewhere between a C plus and a B.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna say C plus.
All right, a C plus from Kudrow. Let's see where this thing fits in the overall ranking.
I was gonna say I definitely can appreciate Birdie or whatever his name is that played Birdie's acting. He did it superbly.
Yeah,
but
I agree. I think he did a great job.
He plays Brenner in Stranger
wasn't it for me.
Things.
Yeah, Matthew Modine, is that his name?
Modine, I think. But I just called him Brenner the entire movie. Every time he would be in a bird position, I would say typical Brenner.
So, all right. So let's look at the overall ranking here. So it sounds like we're easily going to be at least up into the D. Okay, so then let's look at it from here. So we got, um, to me, I would put it in the D tier behind Moonstruck and Valley Girl. But what do you guys think? Cujo's got a higher opinion of it.
I feel it is. I feel it's higher than Moonstruck and I definitely feel it's higher than Valley Girl. That movie was garbage.
Okay, Quinn, you said you liked Valley Girl better.
Yeah.
Okay,
but I can respect it for the group being above that.
I kind of I put them about the same. I feel like I feel about the same about them. I have a hard time saying which one I would say is better. Josh, what?
I think I'm actually with Cujo here. I think that this is better than Moonstruck and Valley Girl.
All right, I personally, I think with that it's probably above Valley Girl, and then Moonstruck. I kind of like Moonstruck better, but I could see Birdie being better. And you guys both think it's better than Moonstruck. Quinn, what do you think about Birdie going?
I like Moonstruck better than Birdie.
Oh.
I feel okay. Here's I feel like it kind of depends on how we're gonna rank this. If we're looking, I feel like Moonstruck has the much better Nicolas Cage moment.
Yeah,
you know, that huge rant in the bakery. I feel like is just vintage Cage.
Sure.
But I feel like Birdie is the better movie. Like if I was to rate it based on Cage's performance, I would put Moonstruck higher. But if we're talking just overall quality movie, I definitely
think as the ultimate tier list of ranking of Cage, you have to consider both of those things.
I mean, I agree, but
in their appropriate percentages.
I mean,
what are those percentages?
It's really whatever's appropriate. Yeah, so I think so. Two of us like Moonstruck better. Two of us like Birdie better. Let's think about this.
Well, look at our aggregate scores for Moonstruck and compare that to what our aggregate scores are for Birdie.
Let's pull up the rankings. So Moonstruck, we had 2 C's and 2 E's.
Oh gosh.
Okay. By the way, the C's were Colton and Quinn, and the E's were me and Josh. And Birdie, we have a D, we have 2 D's, an E, and a C plus. So I feel like if we were to average that out, Moonstruck would probably come out higher.
Which we don't have to do, right, guys? We don't have to do an average or even a weighted total.
Yeah,
we don't have to. I was just throwing it out there.
All right. Well, we could come back to this later.
I kind of like where it is right now, honestly, because it's true that Moonstruck has Cher.
Ooh, Cher. I do like Cher.
But this other one has Matthew Modine in a very memorable role. It's similar to. It reminded me of Dustin Hoffman in Rain Man.
Oh yeah.
That this was like a man playing a pigeon.
A pigeon.
It was just a pigeon. Dude was a pigeon the whole time.
He had the pigeon food and everything.
All right.
Reconcile the
ranking of Cage. Birdie is in the D tier.